First contact and invasion. The stars had always held secrets. For millennia, humanity looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They built telescopes, launched satellites, and sent signals into the void. But the universe remained silent, or so they thought. In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, the Vexari Collective had ruled supreme for over 10,000 years. Their civilization had mastered faster than light travel, constructed Dyson spheres to harness the power of stars, and conquered hundreds of worlds. Their warships were behemoths of gleaming metal, powered by antimatter engines. Their soldiers wore battle suits that made them virtually immortal on the battlefield. High Commander Zivix stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Dominion, the flagship of the Vexari Armée. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the holographic display of a small blue planet, Earth, the latest world to be targeted for absorption into the collective. A primitive species, remarked Science Director Thalen, her translucent fingers manipulating the hologram to zoom in on human cities. They've barely left their own atmosphere. Their most advanced weapons are chemical propellants and crude nuclear devices. Zivix's mandibles clicked in amusement. How many cycles do you estimate for complete subjugation? No more than 1 rotation of their planet around its star, Thelen replied confidently. They will provide adequate labor for the mineral extraction operations. The planet itself has substantial resources we require. Prepare the invasion fleet, Zivix ordered. Standard protocol. We'll establish orbital dominance, neutralize their military installations, and begin ground operations within 3 cycles. The Vexari had conquered countless civilizations this way. Their technological superiority had always guaranteed swift victory. In their arrogance, they never considered the possibility of defeat. They should have. In a bunker 2 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Maya Hernandez stared at the satellite feed with growing concern. The objects that had appeared at the edge of the solar system a week ago were now approaching Earth's orbit. They were massive, the largest measuring nearly 3 kilometers in length. Definitely not meteors, said Dr. James Chen, the lead physicist of Project Aegis. The heat signatures and movement patterns indicate artificial propulsion. We're looking at vessels of some kind. How many? Asked Hernandez. 27 large ships and approximately 200 smaller craft. Based on their approach vector, they'll reach Earth orbit in approximately 12 hours. Hernandez's expression remained stoic, but her mind was racing. For decades, the governments of Earth had suspected this day would come. Since the Roswell incident in 1947, humanity had quietly prepared for the possibility of extraterrestrial contact or invasion. Activate Protocol Prometheus, she ordered. Alert all Aegis facilities worldwide. I want our defensive systems at full readiness in 6 hours. Dr. Chen nodded grimly and turned to his console. Protocol Prometheus had been developed in secret by a coalition of nations following the recovery of alien technology in the late 1940s. For 75 years, Earth's brightest minds had reverse-engineered the recovered artifacts, developing technologies centuries ahead of what was publicly known. Hidden bases around the world housed electromagnetic pulse weapons, gravity manipulation devices, and a fleet of spacecraft capable of atmospheric and orbital combat. The existence of these technologies had been kept from the public to prevent panic and to maintain the element of surprise should Earth ever face an alien threat. That time had come. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Zivix received the preliminary scans of Earth's defenses. As expected, Commander, reported the tactical officer. Their military forces are concentrated in regional bases. Primitive missile systems, aircraft with chemical propellants, and naval vessels confined to their oceans. No orbital defense platforms detected. No energy shields. No gravitational barriers. Commence the first phase, Zivix ordered. Deploy the suppression fleet to establish orbital control. 100 Vexari warships broke formation and descended toward Earth's atmosphere. Their mission was simple: destroy military installations, disrupt communications, and demonstrate the futility of resistance. The Vexeri expected the operation to be completed within hours. They didn't expect what happened next. As the first wave of alien ships entered the stratosphere, 50 launch facilities, hidden in mountains, beneath oceans, and disguised as civilian installations activated. Silo doors slid open, and sleek, dart-like vessels rocketed upward at speeds that defied conventional physics. Earth's secret fleet had been unleashed. On the bridge of the VSF Thunderchild, Captain Eli Jackson watched his tactical display as his ship accelerated to Mach 15. The vessel vibrated slightly as it passed through the sound barrier, but the inertial dampeners quickly compensated. Around him, the bridge crew worked with practiced precision. They had trained for this scenario for years. "Weapons status?" Jackson asked. "Particle cannons charge," replied Lieutenant Commander Sarah Okoro. "Graviton missiles armed and locked. Deflector shields at maximum." Jackson nodded. "All ships, assume attack pattern Delta. Target the lead vessels first. Let's show these visitors they picked the wrong planet to invade." The Earth fleet, comprising 200 advanced fighters and 50 larger vessels, engaged the surprised Vexeri suppression force in Earth's upper atmosphere. The alien ships were larger and more heavily armed, but they had been caught off guard. They had expected to face primitive missiles and aircraft, not vessels with technology comparable to their own. The Thunderchild banked sharply, evading energy blasts from a Vexeri cruiser before retaliating with a barrage of graviton missiles. The projectiles didn't explode on impact. They created localized gravitational distortions that tore the alien ship apart from the inside. Across the globe, similar scenes played out as Earth's hidden fleet engaged the invaders. The Vexeri still outnumbered Earth's forces, but the element of surprise had given humanity a critical advantage in the opening moments of the battle. High above, in lunar orbit, Zivix watched in disbelief as his suppression fleet encountered unexpectedly fierce resistance. "Impossible," he muttered, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "They shouldn't have this level of technology." "We've underestimated them," Thelen said, her voice tinged with concern as she reviewed the incoming data. "These vessels they're using, the propulsion signatures, the weapons, they're employing principles similar to our early interstellar craft." "How?" Zevix demanded. "There's been no indication of such advancement in any of our surveillance." "Unknown, Commander. But the evidence is conclusive. They've been hiding their true capabilities." Zivix's outer carapace darkened with anger, a physiological response among the Vexeri indicating extreme displeasure. "Deploy the main battle fleet. All vessels. I want this resistance crushed immediately." The remaining Vexeri ships moved into position, preparing to overwhelm Earth's defenders with sheer numbers. But humanity had one more surprise waiting. From 6 locations around the planet, massive energy signatures suddenly appeared. The Aegis Array, Earth's ultimate defensive weapon, had been activated. Designed using principles derived from the recovered alien technology, the array created a planet-wide energy field that destabilized certain forms of faster-than-light technology and disrupted the antimatter containment systems used in Vexeri ships. As the main Vexeri fleet descended, 30 of their largest vessels suddenly lost power, their engines failing catastrophically. Several exploded, creating a chain reaction that damaged nearby ships. On the Thunderchild, Captain Jackson allowed himself a grim smile as he watched the chaos unfold among the enemy fleet. "All ships, press the advantage," he ordered. "Focus fire on their command vessels." The Earth fleet surged forward, targeting the disoriented Vexeri ships with precision strikes. In orbit, Zivix watched in mounting horror as his supposedly invincible armada was being systematically dismantled by a species he had dismissed as primitive. "Tactical retreat," he finally ordered, his pride giving way to pragmatism. "Recall all vessels to the secondary deployment zone. We need to reassess." As the surviving Vexeri ships withdrew to a position behind Earth's moon, humanity had won the first battle. But the war had only just begun. The Vexari would regroup, adapt their strategies, and return with even greater force. Earth had revealed its hand. Its secret technologies and defensive capabilities were now known to the enemy. The element of surprise was gone. The real test of humanity's resolve and ingenuity was still to come. In the command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Hernandez watched the enemy retreat with cautious optimism. "They'll be back," she said quietly. "And next time, they'll be ready for us." Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "Then we better make sure we're ready for them too." The counterattack. The Vexari fleet regrouped in the shadow of Earth's moon, licking their wounds and reassessing their strategy. What should have been a simple conquest had turned into a humiliating defeat. High Commander Zavix paced the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, his exoskeleton clicking against the metallic floor with each agitated step. "How did we not detect their level of technological advancement?" he demanded, his voice resonating with barely contained fury. Science Director Thalen's appendages moved nervously as she reviewed the battle data. "They concealed their capabilities deliberately, Commander. Our long-range scans detected only what they wanted us to see: primitive satellites, basic space stations, rudimentary propulsion systems. But the technology they deployed against us—" She hesitated. "Some of it bears remarkable similarities to our own." "Explain," Zavix demanded. "The gravitational weapons, the energy shields, even their propulsion systems, they operate on principles we developed 5 centuries ago. It's as if they've had access to Vexari technology." Zavix's outer carapace darkened further. "Impossible. We've never encountered their species before." "Perhaps not directly," Thalen suggested cautiously. "But we've lost scout ships over the millennia. If one crashed on their planet, and they reverse-engineered our technology," Zavix finished, the implications dawning on him. "These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated." He turned to his tactical officer. "Reconfigure our shields to resist their graviton weapons. Prepare the quantum disruptors. If they want a real fight, we'll give them one." On Earth, the celebrations were tempered by the knowledge that the Vexari would return, stronger and wiser. In the Global Command Center beneath Geneva, representatives from every major nation gathered to plan humanity's next move. General Hernandez stood before the assembled leaders, her uniform crisp despite having been awake for nearly 48 hours. "The Aegis array worked better than expected, but it's drained. It will take at least 72 hours to recharge, and that's assuming we divert 30% of the global power grid to the task." "Can we hold them off without it?" asked the Chinese military attaché. "Not if they return with reinforcements," admitted Admiral Vikram Singh of the Indian Space Force. "Our fleet performed admirably, but we lost 63 vessels. That's nearly a quarter of our orbital defense capability." "Then we need to take the fight to them," said Captain Jackson, who had been summoned to the meeting after the battle. "While they're still regrouping, we hit them hard, target their command ship, and force them to withdraw completely." "That's a significant risk, Captain," countered the Russian representative. "Our intelligence on their capabilities is still limited." "Which is why we need to act now," Jackson insisted. "They're adapting to our technology as we speak. The longer we wait, the more our advantage diminishes." The room fell silent as they considered the options. It was Dr. Chen who finally broke the silence. "Captain Jackson is right," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "But we need to approach this differently. The Vexari expect us to fight conventionally, ship against ship, weapon against weapon. But there's another option." He gestured to a holographic display, showing a schematic of a device. "Project Hermes." General Hernandez's eyes widened. "That's still experimental." "It's our best chance," Chen replied. "If we can get it aboard their command ship, we can end this war before it truly begins." After hours of debate, Operation Thunderstrike was approved. A small strike force would approach the Vexari fleet under the guise of a diplomatic mission, using the opportunity to deploy Project Hermes. a quantum virus designed to infect and corrupt the Vexeri's advanced computer systems. Captain Jackson would lead the mission aboard the Thunderchild, now disguised to appear damaged from the previous battle. With him would be a team of Earth's best pilots, engineers, and Dr. Lauren Miller, the computer scientist who had helped develop the quantum virus. "This is either the bravest or the stupidest thing we've ever attempted," Miller remarked as they prepared to depart. Jackson smiled grimly. "In my experience, those often turn out to be the same thing." The Thunderchild approached the Vexeri fleet, broadcasting signals of surrender and requesting audience with the Vexeri command. As expected, they were directed to dock with the Eternal Dominion. "They're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Commander Okoro from the tactical station. "Standard electromagnetic and quantum scans." "Are our countermeasures holding?" Jackson asked. "So far. They're detecting the damage we want them to see, and the Hermes device is shielded from their sensors." Jackson nodded. "All hands, prepare for docking. Remember, we need to sell this. We're the defeated coming to negotiate terms." The massive hangar bay of the Eternal Dominion dwarfed the Thunderchild as it was guided inside by tractor beams. Armed Vexeri soldiers surrounded the Earth vessel as the airlock opened, and Captain Jackson led a small delegation out to meet them. The interior of the Vexeri flagship was a marvel of alien engineering. Organic curves blended with crystalline structures, creating an environment that was both beautiful and unsettling. The humans were escorted through winding corridors to the command center, where High Commander Zevix awaited. "I must admit, I'm impressed by your audacity," Zevix said as the humans were brought before him. His translator converted his clicking speech into English. "Few species have ever managed to surprise the collective as you did." "We hope to avoid conflict entirely," Jackson replied diplomatically. "But we will defend our world when threatened." A noble sentiment. Zevix gestured with a clawed appendage. "But ultimately futile. Your resistance, while unexpected, is merely delaying the inevitable. The collective has never failed to absorb a world once targeted." While Jackson kept the commander distracted with negotiations, Dr. Miller surreptitiously activated a small device concealed in her uniform. Project Hermes was now active, its quantum algorithms seeking access points to the Vexeri's computer systems. "We're willing to discuss terms that might benefit both our species," Jackson continued, watching as Miller gave him the slightest nod of confirmation. "Perhaps an alliance rather than conquest." Zevix's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "You misunderstand your position, human. This is not a negotiation between equals. The collective does not form alliances with lesser species." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship, displays flickered, and the lights dimmed momentarily. "What's happening?" Zevix demanded, turning to his officers. "System instabilities, Commander," reported a frantic officer. "Our networks are experiencing unprecedented data corruption. Defense systems are failing. Propulsion is offline, and—" The officer's report was cut short as all displays went dark, then reignited with a single message in Vexeri script, translated simultaneously on secondary screens to English. "Humanity sendis its originardies." Project Hermes had worked better than expected. The quantum virus had infiltrated the Vexeri's advanced computer systems, corrupting their data and giving Earth control of the Eternal Dominion's critical systems. "What have you done?" Zevix demanded, turning back to Jackson with fury evident in his posture. "Demonstrated why underestimating humanity is a dangerous mistake," Jackson replied calmly. "Right now, similar viruses are spreading to every ship in your fleet. We control your weapons, your shields, your propulsion systems, everything." "This is impossible," Zevix insisted. "Our systems are protected by quantum encryption." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "Quantum encryption that we've been studying for decades, ever since we recovered one of your scout ships that crashed in New Mexico in 1947. You called it the Stellar Observer. We called it the Roswell Incident." Comprehension dawned in Zevix's multiple eyes. "You've been preparing for this encounter." For generations, Jackson confirmed. Now, here are our terms. The Vexeri Collective will withdraw from Earth's solar system immediately. You will designate this region as sovereign human territory, off-limits to collective expansion. In return, we don't use your own ships to destroy your fleet. The command center was silent as Zivix considered his options. The Vexeri had never been defeated, never been forced to retreat or negotiate. Their entire history was one of victory after victory. Until now. And if I refuse? Zivix finally asked. In response, Jackson nodded to Miller, who tapped a command into her device. Throughout the ship, weapons systems powered down, life support fluctuated briefly, and propulsion systems initiated startup sequences. Then we take your ships and add them to our fleet, Jackson said simply, and use them to take the fight to the collective itself. It was not a bluff, and Zivix knew it. The humans had outmaneuvered the Vexeri completely, using the collective's own arrogance against them. We will withdraw, Zivix finally said, his voice strained with the unfamiliar taste of defeat. But know this, humans, the collective has a long memory. This is not the end. No, Jackson agreed. It's just the beginning. But next time, you'll know better than to underestimate us. As the Vexeri fleet retreated from the solar system, humanity watched with a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had won this battle against impossible odds, but had also revealed themselves to the wider galaxy as a force to be reckoned with. In Geneva, General Hernandez looked out over the assembly of world leaders as they discussed the implications of recent events. Today marks a new chapter in human history, she said. We're no longer alone, and we can no longer pretend that our conflicts are the only ones that matter. There are older, more powerful civilizations out there, some friendly, some hostile. The Vexari won't be the last to test our resolve. Dr. Chen nodded in agreement. But we've proven something important, not just to the Vexari, but to ourselves. Technological superiority isn't everything. Ingenuity, adaptability, courage. These are humanity's greatest strengths. Captain Jackson, standing nearby, smiled slightly. The Vexeri made a critical mistake. They looked at our public face, our commercial satellites, our outdated weapons, our political divisions, and saw weakness. They didn't see our potential. They didn't understand that humanity thrives when confronted with impossible challenges. They thought they were unstoppable, Hernandez concluded, until humanity took them down. News of the victory spread across Earth, uniting humanity as never before. Old conflicts seemed petty in the face of what they had learned, that the universe was vast, populated, and often hostile. But humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not through conquest or subjugation, but through intelligence, courage, and the unwavering will to survive. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Vexari Collective began to reevaluate its expansion strategies, marking Earth not as a target, but as a warning. Here lives a species that should not be underestimated. For the first time in 10,000 years, the collective knew fear. 1 year later, Captain Vexlar, now bearing the title of Special Advisor to the Council, stood before a gathering of ship captains from across the consortium. His new role was to deliver a single critical message to every vessel that might encounter human space. Remember this above all else. He concluded his presentation, the holographic image of Earth rotating slowly behind him. The humans appear primitive, but they are unlike any species we have encountered. They do not respond to shows of force with submission. They respond with innovation, adaptation, and devastating counterattacks. He displayed the symbol that now marked all consortium star charts, a red boundary around the Sol system. Earth is quarantined, not to protect us from them, but to protect us from ourselves. If you encounter human ships beyond their system, do not engage. Report their position and withdraw immediately. A young captain raised a hand. Surely they cannot be as dangerous as you claim. They only reversed our technology through luck. Vexlar fixed the captain with a steady gaze. 3 months ago, a Zentari battle cruiser ignored our warning and attempted to raid a human research outpost on Mars, their fourth planet. The humans destroyed it with a weapon we've never seen before. 2 weeks later, human ships appeared in Centauri space. Within days, the Centauri sued for peace. The room fell silent. The humans have a saying, Vexler continued. Necessity is the mother of invention. When threatened, they create. When attacked, they innovate. When backed into a corner, they become more dangerous, not less. He switched off the hologram. Heed my warning, captains. Mark your charts. Share this knowledge with your crews. Earth is off limits, now and forever. As the captains filed out of the chamber, Vexler remained, staring at the now dark holographic projector. He thought about the terrible lesson he had learned, the lies lost, and the new reality the consortium faced. Somewhere out there, humans were exploring the stars, and they remembered those who had come before.